I am so excited to be here with you guys this morning. There's just something about women's session, getting all of the boys and the way that they smell out of the room, and for us to just gather together. This is such an incredible blessing. So I am here from Houston, Texas. Yes. Exactly, and I moved to Houston about 12 years ago. I'm originally from Colorado, and I will tell you, people in Texas are crazy about Texas, and what I've learned is that everything that they say is true. It is true. I love Texas. But one of the biggest things that I was excited about when I first moved there was that we were only an hour and a half away from the beach, which is a big deal for a girl who's from Colorado. And so what I quickly learned, though, when I visited the beach in the Gulf of Mexico, is that it's not at all like your Florida beaches that you guys have here at all. And one of my friends describes swimming in Galveston like swimming in chocolate milk. It's pretty much what it looks like, all right? So one weekend, some of our friends had invited us to come and stay at their beach house on Labor Day weekend. So we're really excited about this chance to go kind of have a little weekend away with our friends. And so as we're arriving, we're piled into our buddy's truck, and we're getting closer and closer to the beach, and we're kind of like all looking at each other like, do you smell that? Anybody else smell the smell? So as we get closer and closer to the water, this smell just gets stronger and stronger, and it's filling up this truck. And it sort of smelled like something had crawled up my nose and died there. It was disgusting. And as we pulled up, there's these big sand dunes, and we pull up to the beach and kind of go over the dunes, and we see the water open up before us. And we see on the sand, on the beach, thousands upon thousands of dead fish. And we're going to put up a picture here. There it is. I don't know how well you can see. Yes, it was disgusting. And as we're pulling up and we're parking this truck and we're looking around, and there's all these people on the beach like they don't even notice. They're like playing frisbee, and like there's just fish carnage everywhere. And the smell was just so strong, the smell of death, right? So we're like, well, what do we do? We drove here to spend the weekend at the beach, and I don't know, these people look like they're kind of handling it fine. Like, what should we do? So we decided we were going to give it a shot. So we drive down the beach a little bit. We find this area that had, maybe a 10-foot radius with no death in it. So we take out our chairs and kind of lay them out, and we're laying there, and my husband's like, Katie, if you close your eyes, it sounds just like when we went to Hawaii. I was like, I don't remember Hawaii smelling like this at all. I can't really get past it. And so this lasts just for a couple minutes, and they're like, well, maybe we should try something else. So we decided that we're going to play home run derby. So my friend and I, we get up, we've got the wiffle ball and the bat, and our husbands are out here at the water. And so we're, pitching to ourselves and hitting the ball, and our husbands are like diving into the water in order to catch the ball, like they don't even care at all. And so my friend, she's up to bat. She's got the ball. She throws it up, and as she goes to hit the ball, she steps with her bare feet on one of the dead fish. And so she does this. The fish has been sitting out there in the Houston, Texas sun, for several hours apparently. So they're like all bloated. So as she steps on the fish, it makes this loud popping noise, and its stomach shoots out of its mouth, okay? And this big bubble. So of course her reaction is she just starts screaming and just runs down the beach, and she's just gone. And so my husband, Mark, he's like, that was amazing. And so he's like walking around, stomping on all these different fish, trying to see like small ones, bigger ones, different sounds, all this kind of stuff. He thinks it's like the coolest thing ever. So this just lasts for like 10 or 15 minutes, and we're like, all right, we are out of here. We've had enough of this beach experience. So we get back in the truck, drive back to the beach house, and we realize as we get there, like, we smell like dead fish. Like everything that we had with us, towels, our clothes, and everything. So we didn't want to bring it into the beach house with us. So not sure why I thought this was a good idea, but we take a trash bag and put all of our stuff inside of the trash bag, and then put it in my trunk for 3 days. So when I get home, I go into our condo, and I take this bag out, and I take it up to our laundry room. And as I open it up, I literally almost vomited into my washing machine. The smell was way worse than it was that day on the beach. And inside are like my husband's shoes where there's like fish guts like all in the creases and stuff. Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting. So my husband Mark, he has this saying that he likes to use, and he says that when we swim in the ocean, we start to smell like fish. When we swim in the ocean of the culture of death, every single day, you and I, when we immerse ourselves in this ocean of the culture of death, it is so hard for us to not start to take on the properties, not to start to smell like fish, not to start to look just like everybody else in the culture. And so we have a decision here this morning. Do you want to be normal? Do you want to fit in? Do you want to be like everybody else? Or do you want something different? Do you want the ocean of the culture of death? Or do you want living water? What are you looking for? What are you hoping for? What are you aching for in your life? And let's take that a step further. Are you looking for a guy who's normal, who fits in, who's like everybody else? Or are you looking for a guy who rises above? Are you looking for a guy that you can say, I've never met anybody like that before? And so I'm not, talking about all of the obvious stuff, that he's respectful and he's handsome and he makes me laugh and, all of those kind of things that we would put on our list that are just obvious, right? I'm talking about what would it be that would set somebody apart from that? Are you looking and hoping for a husband one day who will be starving for your holiness? Are you hoping for a man who will be starving and battling for the holiness of your children? Are you looking for a man that will let you go in front of him to communion? And then as you come back, that he will sit there and pray in awe of God's presence within both of you? Or are you looking for dead fish man? Are you ready to settle? Or are you willing to hope and to pray and to know that God can satisfy those desires in your heart? And if so, are you the type of girl, are you living the life that a guy like that would be attracted to? So this is the question that I asked myself when I was in your shoes. When I was in high school, I'm going to give you kind of the short version of my story. If you want the whole version, you're going to have to go to the bookstore and get my book. But the short version is, when I was in high school, I participated in the program Franciscan Lead. I know that some of you guys have experienced that this week. And so I was 17 years old, and I went up on the Monday before the Steubenville conference in Denver, Colorado, spent the whole week, and a big theme in my prayer that week was that God had a plan for me, that he had a plan for my life, and that I wanted that. I wanted that plan. And I knew as I was praying through this that week that the Lord, who knew everything, knows everything about me, he knew the best way for me to get to heaven. Whether that was going to be through married life or whether that was going to be through a vocation to the religious life. And as I prayed through this, I realized, if that's true, then God knows who it is that I'm going to marry. And if that's true, then that guy must be out there somewhere at that very moment. And so then I got a little nervous because I was a teenager. I knew what it was like to be a teenager. I knew everything that we were up against. And so I decided that week during Lead that I was going to crawl into the trenches and to become a warrior in prayer for my future husband. That I was going to pray, whatever that he was up against, Lord, that God would come into his life and that he would show him that life in Christ is more intoxicating than anything we can experience elsewhere. And I wanted to make him really, really concrete in my life. And so what I did was I started to journal my prayers for him in the form of letters. Started writing letters to my husband-to-be, which I eventually shortened to my HTB. So I come home, I'm all fired up for the Lord, and a few months later, my world came crashing down when my parents decided that they were going to get a divorce. My dad left my mom a note one morning, and he said he didn't love her anymore and that he was leaving our family. And I was absolutely devastated. I was wrecked. And I will tell you, when I look back at my life, if there was ever a time that I experienced thirst, that was it. That was it. I was asking the Lord, can marriage be good? Can I hope in you? Can I really trust that my life won't be like this? And I was thirsting for hope. And so often what kept me so anchored were these prayers and these letters that I was pouring out to my future husband, praying that God would do something incredible and that it didn't have to be like this for us. So a few years later, I transferred to a small school in Ohio that you may have heard of called Franciscan University of Steubenville. So when I got there, it was this great opportunity for me to kind of have this new fresh start or whatever. And I realized, I was meeting a lot of people. There's all these different events going on, and but I wasn't really making any friends, solid friendships. I knew a lot of people, but I wasn't really sharing my heart with anybody. So I started to kind of get nervous about this, and I'm like, I gotta find some friends really fast. So I came up with this plan that I was gonna sit in the exact same spot during all of my classes, and then while I sat there every day, these people would be sitting around me and they would not be able to move, and so then I could talk to them and then maybe they would want to be my friend. So this is my plan. So I was in my first theology class. I'm trying so hard to have small talk with these people, and they're clearly not interested in being my friend. So I'm like, all right, new plan. So I'm looking around the room and I see this really good looking boy who's sitting there, and there's a seat open next to him. So I'm like, ooh, tomorrow, that's my seat. So I come in, sit down, and I did what I think anybody would do in this situation. I avoided all eye contact with the cute boy who was sitting next to me because I was too nervous to talk to him. So what happened next was way more awkward. So I start seeing this guy everywhere that I go on campus. I'm checking my mail, I'm eating lunch, I'm going to mass, I'm walking to class. Everywhere I go, I see this guy, and it's super awkward because I know that he knows that I sit by him every single day, but I never talk to him. And so every time that I see him coming, I don't know what to do. Should I smile, or should I say hi, or throw a head nod, or continue to avoid all eye contact? So every time he's coming in, I'm having heart palpitations, I don't know what to do. And so every time it's all of those things, oh my gosh, I don't know. So one day, finally, after this goes on for a couple weeks, and so I'm walking to class, I'm giving myself this pep talk. I'm like, okay, Katie, today is the day you are going to talk to this boy. I'm going through the conversation in my head we do, right? I'm going to say this and he's going to say this and I'm going to laugh and then this is going to, So I'm like, okay, getting all amped up. We're going to do this. So we can do it. Today's the day. So I sit down, class goes on, class is over, pick up my backpack. I'm like, tomorrow is the day. I'm going to talk to this guy. So walk out, and waiting for me outside of this classroom is this boy, and he introduces himself, spoiler alert. He says, my name's Mark Hartfiel, and I keep seeing you everywhere that I go. I'm like, yes, I'm really unclear who is the creeper in this situation. I don't know if I'm stalking him, is he stalking me? I don't know what's going on here. And so he's like, I just needed to introduce myself to you. And so as we're talking, he's like, I'm actually on my way to lunch. So am I. Can you believe it? So we walk together to lunch, and as we're talking, we discover we have pretty much the same schedules, thus Creeperville. We had classes in the same building at the same time, and all this kind of stuff. So our solution was we kind of merged those schedules together. We started eating our meals together, going to mass together, praying together, walking to class together, all these things. My plan totally worked. Just saying, right? Totally worked. So the beautiful thing was that Mark became my very best friend. And as the months passed, obviously, we kind of start to have these feelings, whatever. And for me, those feelings were really terrifying. Because in my life, what I was afraid of was that the living water wasn't real. That it couldn't really be true. That it was too good to be true. And we start kind of having these conversations about our relationship and where is this going. And I'm like, I can't. I'm too scared. I'm too scared to put myself out there and to be vulnerable in this sense. And so I go home for Christmas break that year, and I'm just in turmoil over this. And Mark's saying these things to me that are things I'd been dreaming my whole life about, some man valuing me and saying these beautiful things, and I just wasn't in a place that I could even accept that. So we're about to go back to school. And I was talking to my mom, and it was the night before I was going back to school, and I knew I was going to see him, and I didn't really know what to do. And so my mom said, Katie, what if Mark listened to everything that you've said, and if he said, okay, I'm not going to pursue you anymore, and I'm going to let go. And what if he started dating somebody else? All of a sudden, like, I'm laying there in bed that night, and I am like, with everything within me, all I want to do is like beat up the hypothetical girl. Like, she's not even real, but I hate her. I hate her, you know? And so in this moment, like, oh, for the first time, I understood how I really felt. And I understood that the risk was worth it. To put myself out there and to say, okay, maybe the living water is real, and I'm ready to trust you, Lord. I'm really ready to trust you. And what happened, in this exchange was that what I realized was all these things that I was saying to Mark. I was saying, it's not you, it's me. But what he kept saying, what Mark was saying to me is like, no, it is me. Like, I'm the one that wants to love you. I'm the one who wants to cherish you. I want to walk this journey with you. I want to help you with your baggage, all these kind of things. But what I really realized in these moments was that the Lord was saying the same thing. I wasn't just closing myself off in that way to a relationship with a man, but I was closing myself off because I was afraid that the Lord's promises wouldn't really be real, that it was too good to be true. And in my prayer leading up to this time, Jesus was saying to me, no, Katie, it is me. I'm the one that wants to love you. I'm the one that wants to carry your baggage. I'm the one that wants to walk this journey with you. I want to validate you. I want to change your life. And so over this time, this just amazing, beautiful healing for several months, God was really working in my heart and blessing me in this relationship. So we start dating, and several months later, I'm at home in Colorado, and Mark's at home in Texas. And so we're talking on the phone one night, and he is telling me, we're talking about his conversion experience. So Mark's experience in high school was very different from mine. He's very gifted athlete, and along with that came popularity. He's kind of in like the A crowd, a party animal, and all of those kind of things that go with it. So he said he loved God, but it had nothing to do with his decisions that he was making on the weekends. So one night, 19 years old, summer after he graduates from high school, he is at home alone. He said he wasn't in prayer. He wasn't thinking about God. And he explains it as if the Holy Spirit just came rushing into the room. John Pridmore style, sans mobster, okay? So here he is, this 19-year-old boy, and all of a sudden, he is just so overcome with God's love. And he falls to the ground weeping. And he starts thinking about all of his sins, everything that he has ever done. And as he's laying there crying, he said he's crying in sorrow, but mostly because for the first time, he understands that it was his face that Jesus saw as he died on the cross. And for the first time in his life, he was really understood God loved him, but that God was merciful on him. And he wept to tears of joy about God's mercy. And from that day, he was never the same again. He changed his life completely and dedicated it completely to the Lord. So as we're talking about this story this night on the phone, I just felt something stirring within me, and I was like, Mark, do you know the exact date of your conversion? And so we kind of talk through a couple of things, and we come up with a date. I walk over to the spot in my room where I kept my prayer journals, and I pulled out the journal that matched with that date several years before. And as I opened it up, every single day that week, I was at Franciscan Lead. I was praying specifically that God would bring more holy men into the world. And I was praying for specific things for my husband to be, a laundry list. If he's struggling with this. And it was exactly Mark's laundry list. Exactly. Amen. Every time I tell this story, goosebumps. And I share this story with y'all, not because it's my love story and I really like it, but I share it with you today because this is a story of God's goodness. This is a story of what the Lord does millions of times every single day, that we pray and that the Lord answers our prayers. He gave us the gift of seeing specifically the way that he was doing that in my life at that time. But in doing so, it's not just that I got this incredible man in my life, but that I got to experience who God is and to understand that he had to be the first love in my life. And it's only when Jesus is our first love that he is free to deliver us to our second, whether that second love is religious life and a vocation or whether that second love is a person. But that the Lord had to be the first one. He had to be my first love. We're going to put a quote up here that I love that I'm going to share with you guys that really kind of sums this up. This is from a priest who says, "Nothing is more practical than finding God, than falling in love in a quite absolute final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you will do with your evenings, how you will spend your weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything." When I was a youth minister, we would talk a lot about, being a woman of God, and being a man of God. And I've never been to a men's session. I don't know exactly what they talk about over there. But all I know is that they come out and they're like all amped up about being like a man of God. Like it's so cool. Like they're going to go out and live in the forest and kill their own meat and be a man of God, And they're like so excited about that. But when I think about like the phrase woman of God, like really kind of, not that there's anything wrong with this, but where my mind goes is like never cutting my hair again, like only wearing like long floral print skirts and churning butter. Like that's really the image that I get. So when I was a youth minister, we got to talk about this, the girls in my program and I, and we decided, really what sums up what we experience as being a woman of God is really love. It's this quote. Exactly this, to be so overcome and to be so in love with the Lord. And so we started referring to ourselves instead of women of God as a woman in love. Okay, that signed me up, right? Like we love love. We want to talk about it. We want to hear about it. That's why they can have a whole genre called chick flicks because we love it. We love love. We love it. Sign me up for that, right? And so when we are in love, it changes everything. When I fell in love with my husband, it changed everything. And it transforms us. And it's exactly the same when we fall in love with the Lord. That we should be so overcome and so filled and so transformed that we want to share it. It changes who we are. And in doing so, everything else in our lives starts to make sense. Even the suffering, even the hard things, all of our thirsts suddenly start to make sense. And when we fall in love with the Lord, what becomes most important to us in our lives is that we protect the heart of the one that we love. It's when we really realize that sin is not about breaking a rule, that sin is about breaking a heart. So I want to share two stories with you this morning of women who experienced these thirsts in very different ways. And the first one of those, we're going to start off with a video. And I need everybody on your feet for this. And I want the boys to be able to hear us as we play this video now. Okay, that is my favorite song from this movie. I love it. But every time that I hear it, every time that I watch it, I just get so frustrated. I'm like, Hans is such a dirtbag, I mean, I watch it, I'm like, dude, I was rooting for you. Come on. Seriously. And I think that Hans, he's really proof that guys really do only want one thing, to rule a North Atlantic Nordic kingdom. Like, they'll kill your sister. They will do whatever they have to do in order to do this, right? And so I think, this phrase that we think about, that guys really only want one thing, I think that guys get kind of a bad rap in this area. And, I know that y'all have been looking around here this weekend, the boys who are here, right? And you're like, let me show you my wedding pin board, okay? But I've been doing youth ministry for 12 years, and I will tell you, I have known so many amazing boys, right? They are out there. They are really, really out there. It's so true. But what we see in this video, and we see Anna, this incredible character that we all love. We all totally love her. And I think it's because we identify with her in a whole lot of ways, right? And as, Anna was really taken advantage of, we look, though, and see that she just wanted what we all want. She wanted to be noticed. She wanted to be loved. She wanted to be validated. She wanted all of these things. So much so that she was willing to fall for the first person that made her believe those things about herself. And yes, her problems were G-rated, right? But I think what we learn from this is that desperation is a very, very dangerous place to be. It is a dangerous place to live our lives because Anna, she didn't take time to let her heart and her head catch up together. She didn't take the time to look back and to really ask herself, what am I thirsting for? And she all too willingly gave herself and her heart to somebody else. This is the temptation, I think, for so many of us. And while there are so many incredible, incredible boys who are out there, it is true that some guys will give love in order to get sex, and some girls will give sex in order to get love. And both are really looking to satisfy a thirst. But what we learn is that loving somebody never means sinning with them. So I want you to imagine for a second that this is the gift of your sexuality. It's not something that we're ashamed of, that we hide away, but that this is the gift that God gave you of your sexuality. And it's meant for you to give away at the appropriate time in your life. And so, of course, you guys know how important it is for us to save sex until marriage, but we're not only talking about that here this morning. There's so many other things that are out there, all of these other temptations that are hard to decipher sometimes. How do these things fit in to my purity? And so maybe for some people it's just flirting inauthentically, looking for that validation. For some people, it might be kissing too passionately, getting a little bit out of control. Maybe it's pornography and masturbation. Maybe it's sending pictures of yourself that are inappropriate or posting pictures of yourself that are inappropriate. Maybe it's dressing immodestly. Maybe it's oral sex. Maybe it's anal sex. Any number of things that damage and hurt our gift of our sexuality. Now this gift, it's not opened and it's not given away, but what if this was the gift that you had to offer to your future husband on your wedding night? How are you protecting what God has given you in this sense? I want to share with you a second story of a woman who experienced a thirst in her life. And we started talking about this last night. We touched on it. It's the story of the woman at the well. And the woman at the well is sometimes referred to as the prodigal daughter. The difference between her and the prodigal son, though, is that the prodigal son was a parable, but the woman at the well is real. She is a real person. And as I mentioned last night, she was coming to the well as an outcast. And we know this because Scripture tells us that she was coming out to her well at about noon. So to put this kind of in a historical context that we don't really understand, if we think back to this time when there was no running water, it was important for all of the women in the town to go out and to gather the water that they would need for the day first thing in the morning. It was their very first priority. They couldn't do any washing or cleaning or cooking or anything until they were able to bring water back to their home. So first order of business, all of these women would take these jars and they would carry them out to the well. Well, imagine, that every single woman in the whole town is coming out to the well at the same time every day. What does that mean that they're doing? Talk, right? They're talking about everything, catching up, on and on, right? Kind of what it sounded like in here before we started, right? So they're out there and they're talking and they're visiting and they're catching up and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that it was probably something that they enjoyed. You go out and you see your friends every day and you have this period of time that everybody's in one place. But what we hear from about this woman is that she went out at about noon, the hottest time of the day. So it was clear that she wanted to be alone. Because as all of these women were gathering in the morning and they were talking, they may have been talking about her. And she is walking out to the well, trying to be alone, and she was maybe even a little bit annoyed when she finds this man who is sitting there waiting for her. And as they begin to have this conversation, we start to understand why it is that she is hiding from everybody else. And Jesus says to her, go get your husband. And she says, I don't have a husband. And Jesus says, I know you don't have a husband. He says, you've had 5 husbands, and the man that you're living with right now is not your husband. And so what we determine and what we learn is that the woman at the well, the prodigal daughter, she identified herself in 2 ways. The first way that she identified herself was with what other people thought about her, their opinion of her. And so she felt like she needed to hide. And that she needed to hide her imperfections. Maybe some of you here struggle with that. Struggle with perfectionism. And not wanting anybody to know the ways that you're not perfect. And beating yourself up about it. Maybe some of you here identify yourself in that way. And are so hungry and thirsty for what other people think. How they respond to you, whether it's in real life or whether it's on social media. We know that she identified herself in that way. And secondly, we learn that she identified herself with her sin. That she saw herself as damaged goods. That she identified herself as this gift. Broken. And you see, the devil has this funny way when we're facing a sin of making it look like it is not that big of a deal when we're thinking about doing it. And then after we've done it, making it look like it is way too big of a deal for God to ever forgive us, for us to ever be able to come back from. But as this woman is here and she's talking to the Lord, and he knows everything about her, all of her dirty little secrets, and he knows that she has come there to fulfill her physical thirst. But the Lord knows her better than she knows herself. He knows exactly what it is that she needs, and that is a spiritual thirst. And he is there to quench it. And as they enter into this dialogue, all of a sudden, it feels like her heart is working for the first time. All of these places that she's been going, that she's been looking for love, she's been looking for redemption, she's been looking for validation, all of these different places that she has invested herself and tried to satisfy her thirst, and all of a sudden, her answer has arrived. And as they have this conversation, and here is all of her baggage laid out, essentially what happens is that Jesus hears her confession. She acknowledges her sin, and the Lord is there to offer his forgiveness. And y'all, when you visit Jesus in the sacrament of reconciliation, he does not take this gift and tape it all back up and retie the bow, but he does what he promised in the book of Revelation. He says, I have come to make all things new. That he will recreate you. And that you don't have to be perfect because he already is. And that he already can come into your life. And that he can restore you. Every single time I give this talk, I have girls who will come up to me afterwards. And they're like, so you're saying that I go to confession and the Lord will give me a new gift. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. And they say, so like a new gift. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. So like new. Yes. That is what I'm saying to you. Whatever it is for you, whether it's purity issues, whether it is the relationships that you have with other people, whatever it is that you're struggling with, he is waiting for you. Just like he was waiting for that woman. He knows everything. He's already got that. And when you go to him in the sacrament of reconciliation, you are whispering into the ear of Christ. And he wants to recreate and restore you, just as he did for her. The woman at the well that day, she became a woman in love. The woman at the well became a woman who was madly in love. And what we hear in the scriptures is that this woman who was hiding in shame, that all of a sudden she was going out into her town and telling everyone about Jesus. And there were people in that town that would have never heard about the Lord if it wasn't for her. And you could not be here this weekend unless the Lord wanted to encounter you, and he does not want you to leave here this weekend unchanged. Because there are people in your lives, in your schools, and even in your homes. And I know oftentimes that is the most difficult place. But there are people in your lives that need Jesus. And they may not ever know of his goodness and his love if it's not for you. And my prayer for you this weekend is that when you go home and you go back into your life and people ask you, how was your weekend? What happened? That what you'll be able to say is, I fell in love. I fell in love this weekend. And that the Lord will use his love to help you to be the woman that you want to be, that you are thirsting to be. So we're going to have some time in prayer this morning, and I love this opportunity just for us to gather as sisters and to pray together. And Ike's going to lead us in some worship, but I'd just like you to close your eyes as we start. And I want you to imagine yourself just as the woman at the well, that you're carrying forth this jar, and that it's heavy. Whatever your burdens are, whatever your struggles are. And I want you to think about that and to name it. Name it within yourself. What is in that jar for you? Sinfulness, struggles with perfection, things that you don't like about yourself, despair, ways that you've been rejected and hurt. What is in that jar for you? Because the scripture clearly tells us as that woman left that day and she went running back into the town to tell them to come and see the man who had told her everything that she had ever done. The scripture clearly says that she left her jar. The whole purpose why she came there, what she thought that she needed that day, she left it there. She left it at the well with the Lord. So I want to invite you to stand. And Ike's going to lead us in some music, coming to the heart of the Lord. And I just want you to think about what is in that jar for you, and to give you the opportunity during this song to leave it at the feet of Jesus.